the class of IP address with classful view. After that, you know how many bits are the subnet bits. After changing the subnet bits with different value, you can find the subnet ID. After that, for broadcast ID, you know that broadcast ID is one number less than the network ID of the next networks. For example, we can say the broadcast ID is 170 again .21.192. okay, 191. Look at here .255. Why? Because this value is one number less than the next network address. Exactly the same thing that I mentioned before. You can calculate the broadcast ID of one network with reducing or with subtracting one number from the next network number. Because of that, now we calculated the subnet ID, also we calculated the broadcast ID, and all of the IP addresses between these two number are the for example usable IP address in our networks. In this example, we learn how we can calculate, how we can find the subnet ID and broadcast ID, and also usable IP addresses for one IP address that we have with three methods. The first method, the traditional method, okay, or more classic method. The second method, here we use some of our knowledge and also some shortcut. And also in the third method, again, I use the classful view. You know that we can think about one classless IP address with two view. First classful view, then classless view. You learn about this in future in previous videos. And as you can see, until now we learn about three methods for finding the different parts of one IP address: subnet ID or resident subnet, subnet broadcast address, and also subnet's range of usable unicast IP addresses. Very good. Now we learn how we can find the subnet ID, subnet broadcast address, and also subnet's range of usable unicast IP address. But you know that in these three methods, in all of these three methods, I use the binary, or for example base, and I use binary to base for finding the these three range. Okay, let me to give you another method. In this last method, I'm not going to work with the binary. For example, only I'm going to use the decimal. It's so interesting. Let me to talk about the third method. You know that our IP address, let me to write our IP address again. This is our IP address. Okay, let me to copy from here. This is our IP address, and also we have one subnet mask. Okay, after that, this is a subnet mask. We need to find the subnet ID, the broadcast ID, and usable address range. Okay, about the subnet ID, we have we are using the task similar to the task we learned in the second method. Look at here. Let me write here first subnet ID. How we can find the subnet ID without working with binary. Okay, look at here. For subnet ID, first you need to write the octets that you have the 255 in the subnet mask without any change. Okay, such as the second method 170.21. that's it. And also for the octets that you have 0 in subnet mask, you need to change the equivalent part in the IP address to 0. Okay, that's it. This is the 0. Now we need to find only the value of this subnet. You know, this octet, you know that in the second method we found this, but we use the binary. Here I'm not going to use the binary. Okay, this is the interesting octet. Let me to call it interesting. Okay, interesting octet. How we can find the value of the interesting octet? Let me to give you one interesting solution. This is the octet tree in our example. Okay, octet tree in our example is the interesting octet. We need to find one magic number. What is the magic number? Let me to talk about the magic number. You can find the magic number with this formula: 256 minus a subnet mask. This is the magic number, 256 minus subnet mask. How we can find it? Look at here, 256 minus 192 in the interesting, for example, octet equal to 64. You know it, okay? 256 minus 92 equal to the 64. Now you can easily find the subnets that you have with this subnet mask. Let me to write here. Look at here. The first subnet is 170.21. Okay. After that 0.0. The second subnet is 170.21.64.0. You need to add 64 only, okay? This is the value you need to increase. 170.21.128.0. Again, 170. For example, 21.192.0. That's it. And because our IP address in this range, okay, we can easily find the subnet ID. It's so similar to the, for example, to combination of the second method and the third method. In second method, we use the first rule, writing the octet 1 and octet 2 and changing the octet 4 to 0. And also in the third method, we use we created different networks, and after that we find that our IP address is residing in which network. Here we have a combination of these two methods. Look at here. First, I found the magic number. Magic number equal to the 255 minus subnet mask in the interesting octet. Okay, and after that I created for the subnet, and because our IP address is residing in this subnet, we can say that this is a subnet ID of our networks, and easily we can, you know, that we can find the broadcast ID. Okay, broadcast ID is the for example 170.21, then 191.255, one value less than the next network address. It's so easy. Okay, because of that, if you want to find that your IP address is residing in which network, first you need to find interesting octet. Second, you need to find magic number after interesting octet finding. After that, you need to write the networks, and finally you should check that your IP address is residing in which network. Let me to give you another example to better understanding. For example, look at here. This is one easy method for finding faster the subnet network, the subnet ID, the broadcast ID, and also usable IP range. Assume that we have this IP address 199.99.99. That's it, and the subnet mask is 255.255. For example, 0 or 128.0. That's it. The question is that what is the subnet ID? What is the broadcast ID? And also, if you find subnet ID and broadcast ID, you can easily find the usable IP address. And you are using this method, okay? You know that the interesting octet is again here is octet 3. Let me to write here, octet 3 is the interesting octet. Because of that, let me to use 256 minus 128. The result is 128. Because of that, now we have two networks. Look at here. The first network is 1.99.0.0, and the second network is slash, for example, 17, because this is a slash 17. Okay, and after that, the second networks 199.128.0/17. Okay, it's so easy. We need to add only 128 because this IP address 199.99 is residing in this subnet. Okay, we can say the subnet ID of this address is 199.0.0/17, and the broadcast ID, okay, the broadcast ID is 199. For example, you know that we need to subtract one value from the next networks. 199, for example, 127.255. That's it. It's so easy. Let me to solve another example, okay, for better understanding. And in this example, again, I'm going to use this IP address 172.22.55, for example, 77. After that, the subnet mask is 255.255.254.0, for example. First, we need to find the interesting octet. The interesting octet is octet 3. And because of that, we can use 256, okay? minus 2 minus 254, and this is equal to 2. Because of that, we can use this subnet as 172.22. After that, for example, look at here. Here is the interesting octet. The first octet is 0. Dot 0 slash, look at here we have /23, because this is the 16 bits of 1, and again we have 7 bits of 1, /23. Okay, this is the first network. The next networks, we need to add two value, 172.22.0/23, and also here we should go so on, and after that we will receive to 172. Okay, after that 22.54.0/23, and after that 172.22.56.0/23. and as you can see, this IP address is residing in this range. Okay, because of that, we can say that the subnet ID, this is the subnet ID, and also if you want to find the broadcast address, you can subtract one value from the for example next address, and you will find the broadcast address. Let me write here, this is the subnet ID for broadcast address. The broadcast ID or broadcast address is 172.22.55.255. That's it. Okay, this is one value less than the next network number. Okay, let me to give you some examples to better understanding this last method. Look at here. Here we have another example. You can use all of the addresses that you know for practicing, all of the IP address with, for example, that you can see in example in the scenarios for practicing. But let me to give you some examples to better understanding this method. The first example is 192.168, for example 650. With the subnet mask of the 255.255.192.0, or for example, yes, 192.0. Here the octet tree again is the interesting